Hi, I'm Michelle Bege with a look at what's happening in Latin America now. But first, our news trivia. A tightrope walker recently set a record by walking between two skyscrapers in which South American city? We'll have the answer later. We start off this week in Peru, where we are following closely the country's political crisis. After several days of delays, Peru's Congress voted against the third bill that would have brought up presidential elections from April 2024 to December of this year. President Dina Boluarte has been calling for fast-track elections in order to calm deadly protests in the country. The political crisis and 9 weeks of protests has brought on massive demonstrations that have left more than 60 people dead and hundreds injured. President Boluarte has said that with a third rejection, she will propose a constitutional reform to allow a first voting round in October and a runoff in December.
Se quieren quedar hasta el 2026. Entonces yo les pido que sean sinceros con la población. Si no se quieren ir, díganlo, pero no utilicen pretextos para estar en contra de algo que va a ayudar a salir de esta crisis de manera pacífica.
The Colombian drug lord known by his alias Otoniel pleaded guilty to a list of drug crimes in the United States. The guilty plea is being viewed as marking an end to the era of powerful drug kingpins dominating the cocaine industry. Otoniel is the former top commander of Colombia's criminal group, Urabeños. He admitted to trafficking charges that involve nearly 97,000 kilos of cocaine. With his guilty plea, the 51-year-old Otoniel faces decades in prison. He also agreed to forfeit $216 million. In Brazil, cases of malnutrition and malaria have skyrocketed in the Amazon indigenous territory called Yanomami. President Lula da Silva recently declared a medical emergency. He's also sent medical aid to the region after reports that children were dying of malnutrition and other diseases. The Yanomami territory is the largest indigenous reservation in Brazil. Illegal mining has aggravated the health crisis, as the practice pollutes crucial waterways where these families get their water and food. Now let's check out the stories we're following for next week. We continue to follow the migration waves in the Americas. In 2022, the United States Coast Guard reportedly saw one of the deadliest years for illegal migration in recent history. According to migration authorities, there were 65 reported deaths of migrants at sea trying to get to the U.S. last year. Meanwhile, federal officials were also reporting that the number of illegal migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela began dropping after the White House launched a special migration program for these countries. Under the program, these migrants must have a sponsor in the U.S., pass background checks, and pay their airfare to the U.S. And now the answer to our news trivia. The answer is B. Brazilian tightrope walker Rafael Bridi walked between two buildings in Sao Paulo that were 100 meters high. The 510 meters between the two buildings was a new distance record for tightrope walking in urban areas of the Americas. The 35-year-old wire specialist took 25 minutes to cross the slack line. After the challenge, he said he couldn't remember anything other than concentrating on his breath. And that's it for this week. We'll see you again soon on Latin America Now.